Welcome, warrior. All right, we are on Alma chapter 53. We're so excited because we are now in the current Come Follow Me. I know, I feel like it's a pattern, right? Okay, Redheaded Hostess has a really cute study guide cover this time. All their art is by Heidi Carter, and I love it. And this one is original, like I've never seen this kind. This one's called Stripling, and it's so cute. Like if you zoom in, you can see that each one is like a little stripling warrior representation. Whoa, I accidentally pressed a fast number. Anyway, it's so cute. Go look it up. And then Redheaded Hostess usually gives ideas for Come Follow Me, and for like they give teaching tips. And so this teaching tip has different ideas on how to use their table posters. Now they have these things called table posters. You might be wondering, what is a table poster? So it's where you print something off and you put it in like a little acrylic and you put it on a table, and it's supposed to spark conversation, supposed to spark interest for the kids while they're eating breakfast or while adults are eating breakfast. And it's just supposed to be really cool. And we've used them before until our kids broke the acrylics. Right, for sure. I'm like, really? Come on, guys. If like ours fell one time, broken. So I was just like, okay, I'm not going to buy more of those. So yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to do our table posters. Anyway, but you could do the table poster and have it for children to read. You can also come up with teaching activities using the table poster, like circle the ones that you want to do. And then also you can give a child the table poster and ask them to make a lesson or talk about it to the family. Or if you're a teacher in class, table posters are really good as a handout. So those are some fun things to use. Okay, so Alma chapter 53 to 63, we're only going to read 53 here, but just like a little recap of what's going to happen, or summary, I should say, because recap usually happens after, right? Is Alma leads the 2,000 stripling warriors, prisoner exchanges, Helaman's warriors fight and none are slain. Helaman's warriors, I should call these spoilers, huh? Helaman's warriors fight again, all are wounded and more are slain. Moroni's letter to Pahoran. Pahoran's reply to Moroni. Moroni goes to Pahoran's aid. Lamanites driven from the land. Records passed to Shiblon and then Helaman. Okay. So lots of things. These were dangerous times, and the Nephites were needing to fight. The people of Ammon wanted to help, but they had made an oath, remember that. And so they had sons who did not make an oath, but who were willing to fight, and they were exceedingly valiant for courage, is what it says. Isn't that awesome? Okay, Elder Jeffrey R. Holland says this: when a child reads the Book of Mormon for the first time and is enamored with Abinadi's courage, or the march of 2,000 stripling warriors. These stories really get to me, right? We can gently add that Jesus is the omnipresent central figure in this marvelous chronicle, standing like a colossus over virtually every page of it and providing the link to all of the other faith-promoting figures in it. End quote. Love that. October 2019 General Conference. Ooh, okay. Here we go. We're going to read our summary. Today's scriptures are brought to you by Amazing Grandmas, aka my mom. Amazing Grandma. Go hug your mom / your grandma. Because it's that time of the month and was not feeling well at all. And so she was so kind and came over and just took our little reading buddy. And she is playing and is able to be entertained and having fun with grandma, huh? Okay. So we appreciate her so much. Here we go. Chapter summary. Ooh, look, I left the glasses here. Yes. I'm amazing. My broken glasses, by the way. Ooh. Okay, it says the Lamanite prisoners are used to fortify the city Bountiful. Dissensions among the Nephites give rise to Lamanite victories. Come on, Nephites. Get it together. Okay, Helaman takes command of the 2,000 stripling sons of the people of Ammon. Okay, here we go, peeps. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let me put that in. Okay. And it came to pass that they did set guards over the prisoners of the Lamanites and did compel them to go forth and bury their dead, yea, and also the dead of the Nephites who were slain. And Moroni placed men over them to guard them while they should perform their labors. Okay, so remember they just barely took over the land of Mulek. They got it back, but they still have 5 other lands that they need to take back. Okay, oh boy, we're starting with the cramps, of course, just now. And Moroni went to the city of Mulek with Lehi and took command of the city and gave it unto Lehi. Now behold, this Lehi was a man who had been with Moroni in the more part of all his battles, and he was a man like unto Moroni, and they rejoiced in each other's safety. Yea, they were beloved by each other, and also beloved by all the people of Nephi. How cute is that? They're like besties, right? I could just see these guys just like giving high fives, hugs, you know, doing the whole brotherly thing. Anyway, it's just awesome. I love seeing like men who are comrades and like really have a good bond together, you know. It's rare that I see that. So it's so awesome to see when I can see it. So this is cool. Okay, verse 3. And it came to pass that after the Lamanites had finished burying their dead, and also the dead of the Nephites, they were marched back into the land Bountiful, and Teancum, by the orders of Moroni, caused that they should commence laboring and digging a ditch round about the land, or the city Bountiful. So this is good because they still needed to do more strengthening. And he caused that they should build a breastwork of timbers upon the inner bank of the ditch. And they cast up dirt out of the ditch against the breastwork of timbers. Oh, not breathing. And thus they did cause the Lamanites to labor until they had encircled the city Bountiful round about with a strong wall of timbers on earth, of timbers and earth, to an exceeding height. And this city became an exceeding stronghold ever after. And in this city they did guard the prisoners of the Lamanites, yea, even within a wall which they had caused them to build with their own hands. Now Moroni was compelled to cause the Lamanites to labor, because it was easy to guard them while at their labor, and he desired all his forces when he should make an attack upon the Lamanites. And it came to pass that Moroni had thus gained a victory over one of the greatest of the armies of the Lamanites, and had obtained possession of the city of Mulek, which was one of the strongest holds of the Lamanites in the land of Nephi, and thus he had also built a stronghold to retain his prisoners. Okay, so recap. Captain Moroni, Teancum, and Lehi just successfully retaken the city of Mulek, right? Moroni puts the city of Mulek into the hands of Lehi. Awesome. And then we learn that they continued to fortify even during a time of battle. Sometimes you got to continue to fortify yourself even when you're fighting your battles, right? All this experience in battle was helping them become better and better at knowing what fortifications work best. Their expertise was being formed during the battle. Oh, I love that. Something that kind of reminds me of that is business. You know, you sometimes don't know what you're doing. Okay, I all this time don't know what I'm doing. But what's really nice is once you get started and once you get going, you kind of know like what you need to do and what systems you need to put in place so that you can continue to do your business and continue to, you know, be successful and function. And so that's just like one example. Like, let's see, I'll give an example. We couldn't find any suppliers for ice for our Shave Ice Shack. All the suppliers were saying that they already had like their ice like figured out, right? And we were like coming into this game kind of late. And so I would basically just go every night to the gas station and grab a bunch of block ice. But the thing with the ice blocks is like we had to like stab them and like cut them in half, and it was just like a pain. And depending on the employee that was on shift, You either got some or you really didn't. And like if I was on shift, I could not cut those things for the life of me. Like you would think, like I work out with weights and stuff, and I think my hands are just really weak. And so I just couldn't get it, you know? And, anyway, so finally we decided, you know what, we're just going to have to get buckets and, you know, purified water and just do it ourselves, because otherwise it's not going to work. Like I can't keep doing this. And like some of our team members are young and they're not strong enough, and it wastes time when you're trying to hurry and get these shave ice goings when it gets busy, right? And anyway, so we basically started freezing our own water. And so we do that like every night. And we have 2 freezers now instead of just 1, because the 1 freezer, we were trying to figure it out and it just wasn't working anyway. And so now we have like this system to work for us, and it just kind of works really well, except that, you know, I have to go in and do it, which I was hoping I wouldn't have to do. But anyway, that's just one thing where we didn't know what we were doing. And once we got in there, it was like, okay, now we know what we're doing. This is how we have to do it. And we have to just keep going, right? Like you just adjust as needed. So anyway, that's just an example. Okay. And then Elder David E. Sorensen compared such fortifications to the ground rules we might set to protect our virtue. He explained, so this is now not referring to business, but to virtue. He explained, because we have lots of battles that we fight. Resisting the temptations of today's electronic media is not easy. It takes focus, courage, and effort. In the small town where I grew up, one had to drive at least an hour to find trouble. That's awesome. But today on the internet, trouble is just a few mouse clicks away, or a few taps, right? I would say. To avoid such temptations, be like Captain Moroni of old. Set up fortifications to strengthen your places of weakness. Instead of building walls of timbers and dirt to protect a vulnerable city, build fortifications in the form of personal ground rules. I would say boundaries. Or protect your priceless ground rules to protect your priceless virtue. When you're on a date, plan to be in groups and avoid being alone. I know men, young and old, who have simply determined not to turn on the TV or surf the internet anytime when they are alone. Fathers, it is wise to keep computers and televisions in the family room or other high traffic areas in your home, not in children's bedrooms. I also know of fathers who, while on business trips, wisely choose not to turn on the hotel television. End quote. Loving that guy's quote. Let's take a screenshot, and we're actually going to send this to the family chat. We have a little family chat where we send a bunch of awesome stuff to, because it is necessary to have personal fortifications. Sorry, I'm like trying to click save. Okay, 1 second. All right, we sent that to the whole family. Very nice. I actually even included my brothers and my mom and the cousins, and the niece and nephews. Because it's so good. Because it's so good, you know. Okay. Verse 7. And it came to pass that he did no more attempt to battle with the Lamanites in that year, but he did employ his men in preparing for war. Yea, and in making fortifications to guard against the Lamanites, yea, and also delivering their women and their children from famine and affliction, and providing food for their armies. And now it came to pass that the armies of the Lamanites on the west sea south, while in the absence of Moroni, on account of some intrigue amongst the Nephites, which caused dissensions amongst them, had gained some ground over the Nephites, yea, insomuch that they had obtained possession of a number of their cities in that part of the land. Right? Okay. And thus, because of iniquity amongst themselves, yea, because of dissensions and intrigue among themselves, they were placed in the most dangerous circumstances. So this is the people of Ammon. And now, behold, I have somewhat to say concerning the people of Ammon, who in the beginning were Lamanites, but by Ammon and his brethren, or rather by the power and word of God, they had been converted unto the Lord, and they had been brought down into the land of Zarahemla, and had ever since been protected by the Nephites. Thank you, Nephites, right? And because of their oath, they had been kept from taking up arms against their brethren, for they had taken an oath that they never would shed blood more, and according to their oath, they would have perished, yea, they would have suffered themselves to have fallen into the hands of their brethren, had it not been for the pity and the exceeding love which Ammon and his brethren had had for them. And for this cause they were brought down into the land of Zarahemla, and they ever had been protected by the Nephites. But it came to pass that when they saw the danger and the many afflictions and tribulations which the Nephites bore for them, they were moved with compassion and were desirous to take up arms in the defense of their country. Okay, so yeah, it makes sense, because now they're like, everybody's fighting, but we can't fight, and they need us. And these guys were probably really good at it. And you know, when you're really good at something, you like, and then you can't do it anymore for a while, and then I was like, oh no, the ground is moving. Okay, so that was so scary. But hey, the teen's home. All right. Let's see, where are we at? Hold on. Oh, okay, we're on verse 14. But behold, as they were about to take up their weapons of war, they were overpowered by the persuasions of Helaman and his brethren, for they were about to break the oath which they had made. Because these guys make oaths and they keep them, right? But also, we like, whenever we make promises, I feel like sometimes our natural man likes to be convinced of trying to break covenants and oaths by justification, right? And so we could have easily, even if they broke their oath, I know that we would have been understanding of what was going on, right? We would have been like, oh, it's cool, because they just didn't think that they were going to have to fight again. And they technically became Nephites. So now they're fighting, you know, the Lamanites, the bad guys. So it's a different kind of oath, because, you know, they said that they weren't going to fight them anymore, but they're not fighting them. Now they're fighting with them, right? So like we could have justified it. And that's probably what they were doing. But then Helaman came by and was like, hey, you guys made an oath to not fight at all. To like, you buried your weapons even, right? And Helaman feared lest by so doing, they should lose their souls. Therefore, all those who had entered into the covenant were compelled to behold their brethren wade through their afflictions in the dangerous circumstances at this time. Oh, the little weird stuff around the, oh dude, like I went to defrost some teriyaki chicken and it like melted into the little cracks of the fridge. Don't you hate that when that happens? I know. So it says, we're compelled to behold their brethren wade through their afflictions in the dangerous circumstances at this time. So Helaman was trying to convince them, like, you guys can't break your oath. Okay, so then Elder Richard G. Scott says this. This based on like we might wonder if this was not a justified circumstance. Could these men not pick up their weapons and then still be blameless, right? But Elder Richard G. Scott says this, explain this beautifully, and why these men should not break their oath, even in these terrible circumstances. Okay, so he said, quote, the people of Ammon were at a critical moment of their spiritual lives. They had been true to their covenant never to take up arms. But they understood that fathers are responsible, oh boy, to provide protection for their families. That need seemed great enough to merit consideration of breaking their covenant. Their wise priesthood leader, Helaman, knew that breaking a covenant with the Lord is never justified. He offered an inspired alternative. He reminded them that their sons had never been guilty of the same sins and therefore had not needed to make the same covenant. Though the sons were very young, they were physically strong, and more important, they were virtuous and pure. The sons were fortified by faith, or by the faith of their mothers. Under the direction of their prophet leader, these young men took their father's place in defense of their families and homes. Like, I just picture my boys trying to do that. In between the many battles, Captain Moroni directed fortification of the weakest cities. Captain Moroni understood the importance of fortifying the weak areas to create strength. These Ammonite fathers were much the same. They needed taller and wider fortifications between their faithful lives and the unrighteous behavior of their past. Their sons, who were blessed with righteous traditions, were not as vulnerable to these same temptations. They were able to defend their families faithfully without compromising their spiritual well-being. End quote. So good, right? October 2013 General Conference. Okay, verse 16. But behold, it came to pass that they had many sons who had not entered into a covenant, that they would not take their weapons of war to defend themselves against their enemies. Therefore they did assemble themselves together at this time, as many as were able to take up arms, and they called themselves Nephites. Are you kidding? Our boys would love this experience. They're like my little warriors, you know, but so strong and ready, like they literally really are ready to fight right now. They have so much in them, you know. Something that I love, President Monson said that when I was let me back up. When I was a primary president, I realized that the children were just so wiggly and so wired and so excited to just be at church, and they feel really safe to be themselves, and so they kind of get a little crazy and really comfortable, right? And it makes sense. But I remember President Monson saying something, and he said that our spirits are full-grown spirits, and our bodies are the ones that are still growing, right? And so it's like we're trying to contain a massive, amazing spirit inside these tiny little bodies when they're little and young, and they're trying to learn how to use their little bodies and all these things to their advantage, and everything takes time and effort and patience. And anyway, and I just love that visual that like we come to earth with our spirit bodies already being the age that they are and full grown, and yet we come as like little babies in our human bodies, right? And so just imagine all that awesome energy contained, right? And that was what primary is. And I just love picturing those sweet children, all their spirits just full grown, but not sure how to contain themselves, and not sure how to be reverent, not sure how to do those things, but sure love those kids. They're awesome. Amazing. Okay. Anyway, so now I'm picturing all of our little primary kids trying to take up arms. Okay, so it says, and they entered into a covenant to fight for the liberty of the Nephites, yea, to protect the land unto the laying down of their lives. Yea, even they covenanted that they would never give up their liberty, but they would fight in all cases to protect the Nephites and themselves from bondage. Do they even know what this means? Love them so much. Now behold, there were 2,000 of those young men who entered into this covenant and took their weapons of war to defend their country. And now behold, as they never had hitherto been a disadvantage to the Nephites, they became now, at this period of time, also a great support, for they took their weapons of war, and they would that Helaman should be their leader. And they were all young men, and they were exceedingly valiant for courage, and also for strength and activity. But behold, this was not all. They were men who were true at all times, in whatsoever thing they were entrusted. Yea, they were men of truth and soberness, for they had been taught to keep the commandments of God, and to walk uprightly before him. Because they had good examples, right? And now it came to pass that Helaman did march at the head of his 2,000 stripling soldiers to the support of the people in the borders of the land on the south by the West Sea. And thus ended the 28th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. Oh man, those little guys. It's so funny. And you know, I picture 16 and up is who I picture here, even though I'm sure some of those 12-year-old boys would have been like, I'm coming, you know. And I just picture our missionaries too. They're so young. And we have a couple nephews out on missions, and we have some friends who are out on missions. It's just awesome how much the Lord trusts the young people to battle for him, to show up for him, and that these young men will do it. Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to read our Read It, Live It, and then we'll go. Okay, here we go. It says, oh, here it is. Really quick though, before I read that, just imagine how these fathers and mothers must have felt when their sons were taking their own places, or how the fathers must have felt when the sons were taking their own places on the battlefront. Imagine how mightily they must have prayed when their sons left. Imagine the moms also, just praying so hard. And imagine the battle tips they must have given their sons before they left. They knew their sons had never fought before, and these fathers knew their sons were fighting a fearsome enemy. But when these boys were on the battlefield, their lives were literally on the line. It will be their parents' teachings and testimonies that will ring in their hearts and minds. Had these parents only known that their righteous teachings would one day matter this much, and how our righteous teachings and examples will matter so much. Okay, this is a really good chapter. I really love it. Okay, now I can't see. It's crazy. All right, here we go. Also, I need new glasses. Okay, Read It, Live It. It says, be exceedingly valiant for courage. Be exceedingly valiant for strength and activity. Be true at all times. Arm yourself with one of these today. That's so good. All right. Until Alma chapter 54, right? Because we're on chapter 50. Yeah. Until Alma chapter 54. Stay strong, warrior.